The Rangers defeat the Calgary Flames 5-4 in overtime, and it was a game-winning goal in OT by Alexis Lafrenière. This was definitely one of the most exciting games of the season. It had everything. It really did. It had big hits, fights, questionable goal decisions, and really back and forth. It was fun. It wasn't necessarily the you know I'm sure Sutter and Gallant look at this and say, probably not the blueprint you necessarily want moving forward, but considering it was the first game back from the break, it wasn't. I wouldn't call it a sloppy game, but like I just think that if you watch this game, it was exciting. Obviously, for a Calgary fan, not the exact result you want, you do get a point, and so it's not as if they come away with nothing. But for the Rangers, they get the 2 points, and the three players that really stand out beyond Lafreniere, and for Lafreniere, it's a really big goal. Hopefully, this can get him going to get that OT winner. But the three other players that really stood out in a major way, Filip, who just continues to score goals at a rapid clip lately. He's up to 18. He scored 2 goals in this one. He had opportunities to get a hat trick. I feel like I've said that before, where he's had a chance to get a hat trick and hasn't done so, but it feels like it might happen, by year's end. But he has just been fantastic. And Mika Zibanejad had 2 goals and an assist as well. He was very, very good. And he's starting to form some chemistry with Artemi Panarin, which is important. It's not quite there, but it might get there. And then Jacob Trouba. This is this is one of those things that you have to respect from Trouba is that the guy is just a great open ice hitter. He is, and I know that some fans get mad, and these are clean hits. These are clean hits. Now, look, like out of 20 Jacob Trouba hits, could there be some that maybe cross some a little bit? Maybe, but it is pretty amazing how he really lines it up just at the perfect time, the perfect angle. And it's funny that he had a couple of hits by Trouba, and then Sammy Blais, who returned to the lineup, he also had a hit. These three hits actually all resulted in Ranger power plays, where Calgary, took instigator penalties after these hits. And luckily, eventually, the Rangers did score on one of those three power plays, but the Rangers only had three, and it was all of the same variety. And Jacob Trouba definitely deserves a lot of credit. This was one of those games that he really stood out and did a great job. So yeah, again, for me, Lafreniere is a talking point, but Chytil, Zibanejad, Trouba really were the stars of the night. Yaroslav Halak was in that for the Rangers, so that's 2 starts in a row for Yaro. He now has 6 straight wins, but for Halak, started out pretty good, didn't end up so well for Halak. I did not love the fourth goal that gave Calgary that lead in the third period, giving that 4-3 lead. That's when I think he'd like to have back. But Halak, he gets the win. I'm sure we'll see Shesterkin versus Vancouver next game at the Garden. But it's interesting. The Rangers play Calgary and Vancouver here this week, and then next week they actually are on the road where they'll be taking on Vancouver, Calgary again. So that's why I kind of have that second game with Calgary circled on the calendar. That's going to be a fun one where there was a lot of animosity here, and I think for the fact that they're playing each other again so soon, there could be a continuation. Although, look, to be fair, these were clean hits, and we'll talk about those as they'd happened in the game. But really, Daryl Sutter had said after the game, he said, "Look, like these hits were clean," and I do agree with him. So for the Rangers, there was one lineup change from the last game. So if you remember, the last game was Rangers versus the Vegas Golden Knights, and for this one, so Julian Gauthier played that game. He did not play tonight. As Sammy Blais, who played well for the Hartford Wolfpack, he scored 4 goals in 5 games. He was back in there, and didn't really do a whole lot. Again, that fourth line, there's still improvements that need to be made in that fourth line. Not going to make a big deal about it now, but the healthy scratches were Gauthier and Kravtsov. So Kravtsov, he's been a healthy scratch now for a bit. And so you have to wonder what his future is with the team. Could he work his way back into the lineup? Yes. But look, you think about things and, certainly by the trade deadline, which is less than a month away, will Vitaly Kravtsov still be a Ranger? You have to wonder at this point. And for me, Julian Gauthier, he is someone that I would still like to see in the lineup. Will Cooley played again and actually got into a fight again. And I think you can see the potential there. I don't think that Cooley is necessarily an answer for this season in the playoffs. I'm glad they're giving him a look, but I don't know. I think there's a future there. Just don't know if it's this year. Lecision, to me, I don't. That's someone that should not be in the lineup. Jake Lecision, I would like to think that by the deadline that he is, at least placed on waivers, and maybe they're able to sneak him down. Sneak him down. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they are. Obviously, the Rangers cleaned him off waivers from the Golden Knights, but again, the fourth line needs work. But other than that, the lines were the same as we had saw previously, meaning the kid line, meaning Trocheck centering Kreider and Goodrow, and Zibanejad centering Panarin and Vesey. So for the Rangers, they get on the board first, and it's who else? Filip Chytil. Chytil has just been continuing that great play, and he's not getting hurt. A lot of the problems in recent years was injuries derailing him, but I can't say enough how from last year's playoffs to now, this is just a different player than we had seen before. There was always flashes. There was always the potential, but he's been amazing. So at this point in time, it's a 17th goal of the season from Kakko and Fox. Nice little pass by Kakko, sets up a 2-on-1 for Chytil. He rips it by Markstrom and gives the Rangers a 1-0 lead. Then the Rangers take a penalty. Ben Harper trips Blake Coleman. And for Ben Harper, it's getting worse and worse for Harper. If I'm Chris Drury, I'm definitely trying to find a depth defenseman. I'd like to believe that he would be doing that. Look, it's not going to cost you much. Maybe like a Justin Braun type acquisition. And look, Justin Braun wasn't great. He was better than Patrick Nemeth, who wasn't. But I definitely think that Chris Drury can't look at this and say, yep, we're good as is. There's no shot. And what's interesting is that Libor Hayek has been a healthy scratch forever now. He's another one where, can he possibly last on this roster past the deadline? It just feels like that has to end. But Harper should be more that 7th, 8th defenseman, not quite 6th. Harper takes that tripping penalty, but the Rangers penalty kill does a nice job. They kill it off. But unfortunately, soon thereafter, the Flames tied up at 1. And it's a goal by Blake Coleman, the former Devil and Lightning. Scores his 11th goal of the season from Mangiapane. And this was a play where Panarin, and look, for Panarin, today was an example of bad and good. Bad and good. So it's kind of a step up, where for Panarin, it's been a lot of bad here. He ends up redeeming himself later on. But Panarin, it wasn't like an egregious turnover, but he lost possession of the puck. It really wasn't his fault in the grand scheme of it. And it was kind of a close-in goal that kind of deflects off of Fox, goes off Halak. It's an ugly goal, but it's a goal nonetheless, and Calgary ties it up at 1. Then is when things get interesting. At 13:57, Trouba really with a nice hit on Dylan Dubé, and Chris Tanev comes in and fights Trouba. And so for Tanev, he gets the extra 2 minutes, and the Rangers have a power play, unsuccessful. The Rangers power play does not get it done. Then at 16:16 is when you have a Sammy Blais hit that actually ends up receiving no penalty. He hits, who was the hit by Blais? It's escaping me now. Sammy Blais has a hit, and it ends up in a fight between Will Cooley and Mackenzie Weegar. And it's escaping me right now who that hit was on by. Oh, I guess it was Lucic. Yeah, I guess it was Blais on Lucic, and he was upset about it. All I know is Lucic was very upset about the hit. It was clean. Lucic ends up getting the extra 2 minutes out of this. And again, the Ranger power play is unsuccessful. So the same sort of thing happening. Big hits by Ranger players, clean hits, that result in Calgary going after said Ranger, and the power play is unsuccessful. So we go to the second period, and it's a 1-1 game at this point. And again, scoring a goal early in the second, as he scored early in the first, it's Filip Chytil. Unassisted, 18th goal of the season, second goal of the night. And for Filip Chytil, you have to wonder, is 30 goals possible? He's at 18 now, and he missed a lot of time, right? So the thing is that if he had actually played those games, I think he would definitely be looking at approaching 30 goals. But I think it's something that would be a great accomplishment, and I think it's within reach. And so and it was a night, Chytil was a breakaway goal, and he just fires it 5-hole past Jacob Markstrom. The Rangers take a 2-1 lead. Then, and really, I thought that the Calgary Flames, I thought they were the better team in the second for large stretches. This game could have really went either way. Honestly, across the board, this was a pretty even hockey game. But in the second, a really dumb, and this is where, and I think most blame goes to Panarin, especially based on Gallant's response. It's too many men on the ice penalty. Cooley leaves the ice, maybe a little bit slowly, but I think more of the blame goes on Panarin, who hops on and touches the puck, clear too many men on the ice penalty, and Gallant was just like, Panarin, like, you're going to serve this penalty. You go to the box. And Calgary does score and tie it up. And it is a goal by Tyler Toffoli, his 19th goal of the season from Anderson and Lindholm. And so at 16:25, we're all tied up at 2. Then you have another Trouba situation where he lines up and just hits with authority Nazem Kadri, and Dylan Dubé, who was hit by Trouba in first, goes after Trouba. And I must say, in both fights, Trouba really, it was just something else. Trouba versus Tanev the first time, and then Trouba versus Dubé here. He really just, Trouba versus Dubé. I give Dubé credit for even going after Trouba. It wasn't a fair fight. And the Rangers end up with the power play on this as Dubé gets the 2 minutes he gets 17 penalty minutes overall, 2-minute instigator, gives the Rangers a power play, and this time they do score. And it is a Mika Zibanejad goal. And Zibanejad, he has 14 power play goals in the season. It's his 23rd goal overall here. Really nice pass by Kreider. And Panarin gets the other assist. But Kreider, really nice pass to Zibanejad, and with 14 seconds left in the second, the Rangers take a 3-2 lead. I think for Chris Kreider, I think he's still working his way back from that injury. I do. But, nice play there. And the Rangers take a 3-2 lead going into the third. In the third, I thought the Rangers started out pretty well. I did. But unfortunately, a controversial goal was scored by Andrew Mangiapane, his 11th of the season from Hannafin and Backlund at 6:38. To me, if this is not a distinct kicking motion, I don't know what is. It's a bit of a joke to me, where it's like, that to me and they called it a deflection, not a kicking motion. I totally disagree with that. It's just disappointing. It's like, it makes you have zero faith that they're going to get any of these calls right. And so to me, that was the wrong call. And the longer that it took to review that, the more concerned I was. Because to me, if they were seeing it the way I was, it's an obvious review and done. But it didn't happen. And so it's 3-3. Then Calgary takes the lead. And this was a play where, along the boards near the bench, it was the Trocheck line with Kreider and Goodrow. They couldn't quite dig it out. And so it leads to kind of a mini odd man rush. And Michael Stone, the defenseman, powers it past Halak, his 5th of the season from Backlund and Coleman at 8:41. So right there, they tie it and take the lead. And that's one where Halak definitely wants to have that one back. And there might have been a little bit of a screen. I don't think there was any deflection. I think it went off clean from Stone. And it's 4-3 Calgary. So now the Rangers are trailing. But they tie it up. And it's, a clutch player. And he scores again. It's Mika Zibanejad. Zibanejad, his 24th of the season. And it's assisted by Panarin and VZ. And this is a really nice pass by Panarin. Behind the net, little backhand pass to Zibanejad. This is where you're hoping that chemistry can increase. Because it's not quite there yet. They're two really talented players. I mean, they're arguably two of the best forwards on the team when they're going right. And probably the most, in terms of names, it's Zibanejad and Panarin for sure. So good to see that connection. And Zibanejad scores past Markstrom and ties it up at 4. Then it gets to a risky situation. Vinny Trocheck takes a bad penalty, a tripping penalty at 17-19. He trips Mackenzie Weegar. And the Rangers do kill this off, but for Trocheck, as I've said, there's a lot of penalties there. It's not too dissimilar from another 16, Ryan Strome. So Trocheck, this was a step-back game for him after he played really well against Vegas. This was not a great game for Trocheck, but the Rangers do a great job. They kill it off, and we head to overtime. And in overtime, it starts out with Filip Chytil, Panarin, and Fox. And you know what? Look, it's odd in the sense that Chytil is not good on faceoff. So for that, but just I like the idea of rewarding Chytil. And look, that could have been Trocheck. I mean, they could have gone in many different directions, but they went with Chytil. And I like that. They reward him, and they got some chances, some really good ones at that. But then eventually it's not quite the next crew. It was a combination of it, because then next was Zibanejad, Kreider, and Miller. But it ends up being a situation where it's a 2-on-1. And Lafrenière has open eyes, and it was good for Lafrenière, because it kind of, in some ways, makes up for that Devil game where he really single-handedly fucked it up, where Damon Severson won it, I guess now about a month back. But now Lafrenière gets the winner. Lafrenière sets up Zibanejad, who just rips it. One time, vintage Zibanejad slap shot. Really great save by Markstrom. But unfortunately for Calgary, Lafrenière, it kind of goes off the boards. Calgary's not able to corral it. And Lafrenière it wasn't a wraparound, but he's able to kind of whip it past the defenseman, might have been Hanifin, and Markstrom and in. So Lafreniere's 7th goal of the season from Zibanejad at 1:37 of the overtime, and Markstrom was pissed. Markstrom slammed his goalie stick against the post, broke it, and stormed out of there. But just really, if you were at this game, that must have been a really fun one. Just an awesome, awesome game. Coming out of the break as well. That was fun. And you had some really good performances by some of the younger players, some of the veterans. It was a good mix. Again, I don't think it's the blueprint for victory, but at the same time, it wouldn't necessarily, I think you're happy about that. You don't feel like you stole 2 points. It could have went either way. And the Rangers, the talent wins out, and, some timely goal scoring, and the Rangers win this one 5-4. Now they will take on the Vancouver Canucks, who are coming off of actually a 5-4 game as well. They lost to the New Jersey Devils 5-4 in overtime. And the Canucks recently traded Bo Horvat. But, Vancouver has given the Rangers some problems. It's a different situation completely. But, don't take Vancouver lightly. But I think if the Rangers play just a solid game, you get Igor back in there. Hopefully he'll be all right. And, you like to think that that's a winnable game. But, Vancouver, the Rangers have definitely this year, right? If there's one thing we've seen, the Rangers against, teams that are low in the standings at home, they've lost those games. They have to remember that. They can't feel too good about themselves. But this was a fun one. Rangers win it 5-4 in overtime. The game-winning goal by Alexis Lafrenière. And the Rangers improve their record on the season to 28, 14-8 through 50 games.